What's going on, guys? Welcome back to part two of my Baldur's Gate video series. In this one, we're going to go ahead and move a little further into the game and go explain the armor class, different types of armor, and all that fun stuff. Now, to begin with, let's go ahead and explain the different types of armor. The most basic type of armor in the game is clothing. Every character can wear clothing no matter what. Now, once we get above clothing, that's when you're going to possibly need proficiency. Generally, all characters can also wear the first tier armor, which is light armor. Even Gale can wear light armor, so I'm pretty sure pretty much everyone can wear light armor. The next tier above that is medium armor, which Gale can put on. However, as you can see, he's not proficient in medium armor. That means that you can no longer cast spells. As you see, all my spells are darkened right here. We'll go ahead and put back on my clothing, and now they're all green or lightened up again. So keep that in mind when you're putting your armor on your spellcasters or any character, that if you're not proficient in your armor, you cannot cast spells. So please do not wear armor you're not proficient in. And the last tier of armor, we'll go ahead and scroll on down to here, is going to be heavy armor. Now, generally, heavy armor is going to be used on like a more strength-based character who doesn't have much dex, because as we see right here, they don't really benefit from dex as much, and the more lighter armor, such as this medium armor, will benefit more from your dex. What your dex does is increases your armor class. What your armor class isn't just like a big number that makes you never take damage. What that is they have to roll above your armor class in order to hit you. So as you see right here, Gale has a 13. If the enemy attacks you and rolls above a 13, then they will be able to hit you. And pretty much is pretty easy to roll above a 13. Since you roll a d20, you get proficiency bonuses, you get advantages and all that stuff. Eventually, it adds up and you get hit. So even if you have a super high armor class like I have over here on Shadowheart of 21, they could still actually hit that if they have enough bonuses. However, they will be missing a lot more than they would on Gale. Now that we've explained all of the bonuses, but the basics between armor class and the types of clothing that there is, let's go ahead and explain how we can see that, how we can see what characters are proficient with what. Well, we simply go into the character sheet, and we can see right here what characters are proficient with what. We can see Karlach is proficient with light armor, medium armor, and shields, and Gale is only proficient with light armor and shields. We can check Shadowheart, light armor, medium armor, shields. So unfortunately, none of my characters are actually able to use heavy armor. So keep that in mind when you're building your teams. You may want to try to have at least one character that can use heavy armor. Otherwise, all heavy armor you find in the game will be pretty much useless to you. It's not a necessity, but it is quite helpful. Now, some other things to keep note is your proficiency to weapons right here. As you see right here, we're going to want to pay attention to what kind of weapons we can use, because if you're not proficient with your weapons, you're going to have a lot less accuracy when attacking with them, and you're going to miss out on any special abilities from them. So let's go ahead and go on to our weapons. So again, if you're not proficient with your robe right here, you will actually still be able to use all of this right here, even if you're not proficient with it. However, like, let's go ahead and throw this for example. We will still be able to have all this. The critical hits won't land and all that stuff, but again, we won't be able to cast spells. So is it worth it? Probably not. Now for the weapons, I can wear this item right here. It's not proficient, but I'm still able to cast spells. So you might think, oh, so that doesn't matter then. Who cares, right? I can just use this. The bad thing about using a weapon you're not proficient in is you're going to have a lot less accuracy to landing things. And you have this right here. Proficiency with this weapon type unlocks this ability. So you're going to miss out on these little abilities. Now, early game, the abilities that you miss out on right here aren't the big deal. The big deal is the accuracy all the time. So try to only use weapons that you are proficient in. Otherwise, that's probably the reason why you're having like 20% chance to hit and you're getting mad that you can never hit anything. Now, remember what I said. You do get to keep your little abilities in the middle. So, for example, this staff right here. If I wasn't proficient in this staff, I would still be able to use Firebolt, Fireball, Topple, all that stuff, but I'll have very low accuracy. What that means is, for a character like Gale, if I wanted to, we could go ahead and yoink this bow right here, You see we're not proficient with this bow? Let's go ahead and drag this bow on over. Pay attention to my bar down over here. We don't have the haste spell, right? We have it over here. We have one haste spell. So we'll equip this right here. And even though we are not proficient with this, as you see right here, not proficient with simple weapons, we actually did gain that haste spell, guys. So that means that even if you're not proficient with this item, you still gain these bonuses right here. So keep in mind that since Gale is a mage character, he doesn't actually ever use that bow. So that decrease in accuracy doesn't even matter. Just never shoot this bow and you get all these bonuses for free. So if you want to, I always recommend actually using this bow on like a sorcerer, because haste is really, really good on a sorcerer, or even a warlock, or even Gale. This weapon is really nice on any sort of spellcaster, even though they're not proficient with it. So do keep that in mind. That is a good way to get around the proficiency need, so you don't actually need to have like a bowless Gale. You could actually use a bow on Gale, just don't actually attack with it, that's all. Now we're going to throw that back on Shadowheart. Now, the other things that we need to go over is the weapons. These are a lot more difficult to understand. We have two-handed weapons, we have versatile weapons, and we have finesse weapons and light weapons. Those are pretty much the main ones that you're going to be finding in the game. Now let's go ahead and start from the right and move our way to the left. Two-handed weapons. Self-explanatory, right? You can only use them two-handed. That means if I try to equip a shield onto this character who is a two-handed, it will not work. It won't let me. If I forced it to do it by double-clicking over here, it won't even let me. I can match my double-click as much as I want, it won't put it on. So two-handed weapons, you can't wear a shield with. Pretty obvious, right? That's weapon has a little bit extra reach. If we scroll over, it doesn't say exactly how far the extra reach is, but it's about an extra meter or two. So it's helpful, but nothing crazy. Now we'll go ahead and scroll on over to Shadowheart and pay attention to this versatile trait right here. Versatile means it can be used with either one hand or two hand. So let's go ahead and check out this spear. If we look at the spear, sorry about that. If we look at the spear does 4 to 9 damage. If we unequip this shield, the spear will now do 4 to 11 damage. So, what does that mean exactly? That means equipping a shield removes 2 damage. You might think, well, then why would I ever want to use a shield? The shield actually has its own abilities right here, and it also gives 2 armor class. So you could decide for yourself what you prefer. If you prefer the versatility and the damage loss isn't as important to you. Now the last weapons we have to talk about are light weapons and finesse weapons. Light weapons are weapons that can be dual wielded with another light weapon. Keep in mind that there is a feat that lets you dual wield any weapons in the game except for the two-handed weapons, obviously. But if you don't want to waste a feat on that, you could go ahead and just use 2 light weapons. As you see, even crossbows, you could use 2 light crossbows. That was a surprise to me at first. Now, most weapons in this game, all weapons in this game, use strength as its primary damage source, unless it says otherwise. For example, these daggers right here have the finesse attribute, which says scales with your dex instead of your strength if your dex is higher. That means your attack rolls and your damage rolls will, actually not your damage rolls, but just your attack rolls will roll off of your dex modifier. Well, I guess it is your attack rolls and damage rolls. It will scale off of your finesse, which is your dex modifier. So you'll do more damage and you'll have a higher chance of hitting if your dex is higher than your strength. But if your strength is higher, then it will use your strength as well. So don't think just because you're using a strength character, you can't be using these daggers. It's just, generally, you're going to have a better two-handed sword that you won't want to be using these daggers. And that is pretty much it for that. And the only other thing that I would say is keep in mind that Dex also improves your initiative. So that would be the reason why you'd want to go like a pure Dex build. And you got your necklaces and rings. Those are all pretty much the same. Just They all have their own little special abilities. And that's pretty much it, guys. Yeah. So the big takeaway that I'd say from this is just pay attention to this little section right here, and that is going to be the main thing. And pay attention to what weapons you're proficient with, pay attention to the versatility, the light, all that important stuff, and you can make yourself your own unique build. Whatever you want to do, you can make it work and have fun using your own unique builds. That's all I've got for you guys today on this second episode. I'll see you guys in the third.